All right.
Yeah.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to the Global Sales Leadership Podcast with your host. I'm Jason Cooper. I help sales teams deliver better results by sales training coach. This series is all about insightful leaders with people that do something slightly different to the norm. It's about gifted leaders who want to employ brilliant and intriguing and slightly varied and different results to great effect. My guest today does something slightly different to the norm, but he reached out to me and I'm really happy that he did. His name's Peter Hopwood. We're going to be discussing in a little bit more detail about what he does in a few moments, and we're going to describe in rich detail about his background and where he is and what he does right now. So Peter's actually done a lot of work with TEDx. He's a TEDx coach. He's actually a presenter. He actually is a professional coach, but he's probably going to actually tell a little bit more about that than what I can do. He basically had traveled the world before this lockdown stuff actually stopped us doing everything. Now he virtually teaches people to clear and concise, better stories, and he does a lot of other stuff as well. So welcome, Peter, and welcome to this podcast series.
Thank you so much. Great to be with you, Jason. I'm looking forward to delving into a good, juicy golden nuggets, or hopefully lots of golden nuggets of value during this next 30 minutes or so together.
I'm sure we will. Like everything, it's always really good to find out a little bit more about you. Describe how you got to where you are right now and all the sort of the anchor points to what you do right now. So if you could share us a little story about that, would be awesome.
Okay, so I'm going to kind of squeeze everything I can into a couple of minutes, which is always difficult to do for most of us when we're sharing our stories, sharing what we have to say. So basically, we rewind to about 25 years ago. I was working for a holiday company, and I had the opportunity to work in different holiday resorts across Europe, in Spain, in Portugal, Malta, France, lots of different countries. And during that time, it gave me a chance to really prepare myself for what I'm doing today. So today, I'm a pitch coach, a speaker coach. I help people to tell better stories with better impact. So all about how they present, what they present, their stories, using their voice, using their body language, really getting the impact across and helping them to improve, and at the same time reduce those nerves, reduce that anxiety, and feel confident and feel good about what they're sharing. So back then, when I was a holiday rep, a lot of what I was doing was all about presenting the resort, presenting the things you could do, things you can get up to, things you can enjoy while you're on holiday. And 150 people 3 times a week, pretty much the same presentation week in, week out. So sometimes it would work really well, sometimes it wouldn't work at all. So I pretty much realized early on that small little details in what you say, how you say things, how you move, the approach you have, the mindset, the feeling you have about the resort, all comes into play in helping people or getting them to start to trust you, start to like you, and ultimately buy from you. So this was really where it all started. Fast forward to today. So basically, at the end of my holiday rep career, I went to Croatia. That was my last placement. I met a young lady. I married that young lady. Since then, I've divorced that young lady, who is not young anymore. However, she still looks good, but I hope she's not watching this. But the thing is, through that time in Croatia, I opened my own company, communication skills, and then moving more towards presenting, and then on to pitching. And today, the last, I would say 7-8 years, all about speaker coaching. So all of those things come into play with what I'm doing today. And so I think as well, living in lots of different countries, being able to kind of not always understand through verbal, through the words, through the phrases, through the language, of these different countries, because clearly, you know, I didn't understand like Hungarian, no idea, still no idea, even after living a year there. Crazy. And so a lot of what you do is actually you take messages through what you see and how people behave and how people move. And so a lot of that, I think, has contributed to what I do today, helping people to identify that in themselves to help them show up correctly in the real world, and also virtually as well. So that kind of brings us to where we are today. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. So, and like from your background, you can read people really well from being a rep, because you get different people coming in all the time. You get a collective, and that sort of understanding your audience is absolutely key to actually adjust the messaging that you push across. So how do you think you can actually adopt this now in the virtual world? We're so used to seeing it in the real world, and hope we come back to that at some stage. But in the virtual world where we are right now, how can we sort of get our messaging across in more of an effective, distinct manner? And put in mind, this is the Global Sales Podcast, and we want to help and inspire salespeople, sales leaders, and leaders to be more effective at what they do virtually.
Yeah, really good question, because, you know, going back years ago, so standing there and presenting, you can see the people in front of you. You can, in a sense, feel the energy in the room, although most of the time it's you who are dictating that energy, the emotional temperature in the room. But still, you can see people, you can see how they're reacting, you can feel if they're looking at you, showing them that they're showing you their attention, and then you can take it forward from there. So it's getting that listening, really listening and seeing, observing what's around you. It's really difficult to do that online. It's so difficult, because all I have right now is this camera, your voice to go by as well, and the cues that you're giving me visually, right? But it's so difficult to do that with people who you can't see on camera, who maybe got their cameras, they're not showing with their webcam, or you just can't see everybody, and it's a lot more difficult. So the first thing I would say is to switch it around. So switch it around to how you're feeling. So once you're feeling, so essentially think about, again, what do you want the people that are listening to you, what do you want them to feel through this? What's the result, or what's the outcome, or getting to that outcome? Where do you want this exchange to go? Where's it going in the first place? Once you've established that, it's a lot easier to shape where you're actually going to go. Then I would also say, remember or define the kind of energy you want to put out. So according to the outcome you want, what's the kind of energy that you want to put out? Is it something soft? Is it something where you want people to feel astonished, excited? Do you want them to feel intrigued? Do you want them to feel pensive? Do you determine that kind of energy and tone? So once you've got the results, the outcome, and the energy and tone that you plan to share, once you've got those two in your head already, it becomes a lot easier to start to share that through the camera. If you haven't got that, if you don't know what the outcome is, if you haven't really thought about, or you're not sharing the right tone, which is sometimes quite difficult, you're not going to get your audience engaged. You're not going to get them to listen to you. So I would say those are the sort of two things, first of all, to think about. Once you've got them, it's a lot easier to get your audience engaged, right? So your audience, the people listening to you, they need to feel like they're, like you're respecting them. They need to feel that you're in there, giving them value, giving them something they need, and you want them to get engaged, because anything on a screen, so think about it, a laptop, a mobile phone, even a TV, even a film that you're watching, all those things, everything on those screens are designed to get you to listen, to get you engaged, because it's so easy what do we do when we're not engaged? When we're looking at something on a screen, we click and we go on to something else. How many times have we looked at anything on YouTube? We've watched the first 3 seconds. It's not great. It's not good. It's not going to inspire us. It's not something we want to continue listening. Bang, we'll go on to something else, because our attention spans are shorter and we've got a lot more choice as well. Well, guess what? It's the same thing in our brains when we're looking at the screen in terms of a virtual meeting, a presentation, even this right now. What we have to do together, Jason, we have to do something, say something, move, share value. The words we say, how we say them, all this plays a part in keeping people with us. Hopefully people are still with us. Maybe right now they've left. I don't know. Hopefully
I'm sure they're still with us. Yeah, because it's all intriguing. It's all stimulating to the brain as well. And
yeah, absolutely.
The key thing is, I find, is to move gadgets out of the room, especially when you're doing stuff like that. I kept my phone close to me just in case we had some technical issues and you wanted to call me beforehand. But now that's off and that's out the way and it's out of arm's reach. So all distractions around you, which can be frustrating. So for the audience listening, is what are the key things that people can do right now to make something work for them, and just to learn from people like yourselves and ourselves and whatever? What's the best way to just like get them in the room, get them attracted to what you're saying and stick there?
Okay, so there's a couple of elements I'm going to share with you right now. A lot of them you already know, some of them you're using already, and maybe just one or two might actually be really, as I say, golden nuggets of information. So number one is where you're looking. So I've been doing something from the beginning. You're doing it as well. So I'm looking directly at this camera. So my eyes are here. So what does that show to you, Jason? It shows the same thing as it does to the people watching and listening. Yeah. It shows them I'm almost, there you go. That's my phone. It's ringing. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy? Anyway, beeping it was. A text. Anyway, so looking at the screen makes a massive difference, and that's something you just have to keep doing and keep remembering.
Keep on track as well. So when you do get distractions, it's just move on from it straight away, immediately, as if you're back into the room, and share your wealth of knowledge back in, because we all get distractions around. I've had kids walking in. I've had delivery drivers in workshops. I've had all sorts of things that actually happen, but you just incorporate that back in to what you're doing right now. And it's just to zoom in. Someone suggested to me on a previous podcast, if you're in the room, be in the room, which is a really good, colorful way of describing how you can just focus.
Absolutely. Focus and where you're looking is everything. It really does visually make a difference. So it's all about showing up and showing up when people are looking at you, you're looking at them. So what does that mean? That also means when you're not speaking and you're not presenting, or you're not the one who's talking at the time, you have to remember to keep looking at the screen, because how you show up when you're not talking, just as important when you're talking. So right now, for example, let's say I'm going to look away from the camera now. Let's say you're talking, you're presenting, and I'm just one of the people on that call. I could now start looking at my phone. I'm listening to you, but I could look on my phone. I'm doing something else, maybe a glass of water, or maybe even just checking an email or something. If my camera's on and really a good suggestion, try to keep that camera on, because having the camera off for the presenter is more difficult to engage. So you're doing yourself a favor by putting your camera on, and when it's on, look at the camera. Try to look at the camera and look at the person as well, but be aware of your own body language, be aware of your own cues. Interestingly, I could be like listening to you like this, even though it might mean that, even though I am listening, and often I cross my arms quite a lot when I'm listening, and I'm really pensive and thinking. But the impression it gives maybe isn't always always that positive. So a
Yeah,
suggestion, when you're not speaking, be aware of how you show up. All right. So that, again, that is a lot of it is about the eye contact. So spoken about the eye contact, the hands that the hands in front of you. So when I'm speaking, you might have noticed a lot of the time I'm up to this kind of level, showing you, illustrating certain elements of what I'm saying to emphasize those elements on certain words, on certain phrases, to illustrate things that are big, things that are great, things that are small. So and you can see that, and what that does, that again helps the person looking at you just to get more of a flavor of you. So doing that, you actually sound better. Try it. If you put your hands down and then I'll do it now. Well, let's do it right now, Jason. So Jason, put your hands down.
Okay. And this is for the audience as well, for people.
Yeah, absolutely. Put your hands down and then just do a quick introduction like you did at the beginning, looking into the camera.
So yeah, my name's Jason Cooper. I'm a sales training coach. This is the Global Sales Leader. In fact, I can't
keep it down, Jason.
My hands automatically come up.
It's a habit, isn't it?
It's probably how animated I normally am. But I know what you mean. When your hands are constrained, when your arms are constrained, it doesn't work for me. But because I'm probably like yourself, I'm like a puppet. My arms have to come up and down.
Yeah.
Because what I'd like to do is convey elements of likability and elements of trust, because people like ourselves want to build more trust in with other people. So if you can open on gestures like that, it helps in a way influence and persuade people in an integral positive way, as opposed to a negative way, not like the Hitler way of straight and all of that.
Absolutely. And so yeah, just seeing what your hands are doing, and even if they're just moving like this, it's, they don't have to be very big movements or gestures, just small ones like this, so they can see and hear what you're saying. That makes all the difference. So we've got the eyes, what the eyes are doing, what your hands are doing. Another big one is a really simple one, but it actually makes a massive difference in today's world, in the era of masks, in the era of virtual connection, and that's smiling. So I'm not talking about like smiling, when you're not feeling like you want to smile, but try to show as much smiling as you can. Try to show that and you can do that through naturally your mouth. You can do actually everything through the eyes as well. So when you start the call, when you're on the call, when you're looking at the camera, have a feeling of, this is going to be good. This is going to be something that I want to share. So something that I say to a lot of startups who are just about to pitch, just about to share their idea in front of, let's say, investors or potential investors or people that are going to judge their idea. And most of those people are quite skeptical. In the startup world, there's a lot of skepticism, certainly in the investment world as well. So coming out, just thinking in your mind, you're just about to share a kind of secret, a cool little secret that no one else knows. You know it, and you're just about to share that and kind of reveal it. So if I ask you now, Jason, think of a secret, think of something that's really cool that that nobody else knows, and start thinking about that. So if we all look at Jason now, thinking about that. Keep thinking about that. It kind of shows, it starts to show in our eyes, it starts to show in our micro expressions, and it will show completely when we start to speak in our voice. Absolutely. So smiling, just smiling makes all the difference. People today in retail, they're actually trained, a lot of the top retail brands, the ones that haven't gone out of business yet, even the ones before, in last year, a lot of the training is to do with those non-verbals, how to get, how to smile behind the mask. And you can do that. So Moden will know all about this, and a lot of people who follow him and the body language world, the Duchenne smile. So you're having kind of creases just here, wrinkles up here, and your cheeks kind of go rounder as well. So even when you've got a mask on and you smile, that comes through your eyes. And so people are kind of encouraged to do that. People who work in retail encouraged to do that. Even the NHS in a lot of their guidelines, they've actually got guidelines in terms of how to communicate behind the mask. So again, wider, open gestures, slowing down, concise speech, using, actually saying to the patient, saying to the person opposite what you're about to do, or ask them how they're feeling or how does it feel. So it's really clear between the potential patient, let's say, and the actual and the nurse or the medical professional. So
I was going to say,
makes a big difference. Yeah.
I was going to say, from what I've learned is to smile inside the mind, because the eyes give away absolutely everything, as you say. But once you start to think of something that's really wonderful inside your head, and then you have the physiology to back that up, the shoulders are back and the head is up, the eyes start to listen anyway. And I know it's behind the mask, but I always find that something that's going to make me feel really good and warm inside. I can see it in the eye straight away, but you can tell by the false smiles that people put, and they go, it's like it's almost like they're trying to smile, but the eyes will give it away. And the eyes are the eyes to the soul, the third eye, and all of that. So I find that's a really good, interesting thing. Think of something that's going to make you feel really good inside your head, and the eyes will just like pop up and feel really good. So let's have a look at leaders and leadership. How can leaders be more effective with their communication back to their staff to enable them to sell or serve others in a more of an integral way, especially these wonderful, challenging times that we do have right now?
That's a really good question, Jason. I think a lot of it is to do with perception. A lot of it is to do with the engagement that you have, and as a leader, again, however you were as a leader before in the real world, now in this world, it's a very different kettle of fish. It's a very different thing to approach. So the more you focus on how you're coming across and the messages that you're sharing online, the more you focus on that, the more you're aware of that, the more you're actually going to get better at it. And the better you get at it, the more engaging you'll become, and then you'll get through to your teams and share those messages in the right way. So I would say, this is certainly something it's not going to go away tomorrow. It's pretty much going to stay here for quite a while anyway. It's certainly for 2021, probably moving into 2022 as well. So I would certainly say, really start to be aware of all those things we've mentioned already, the voice, how you come across, the environment that you're in as well. So right now most of the time leaders will not be doing these calls, I imagine, in the office or in a professional surrounding. Most of the time probably be at home somewhere in a room, or somewhere that isn't where everybody's used to being. So there's certain things you can do. You can actually use that environment where you are to show a little bit more of who you are, because we don't, your boss, if we think of all our bosses in the past, what do we remember about those bosses? What do we remember about the people, those interactions? Probably most of the time that it's always in a professional setting, always wearing a suit, always probably to do with work naturally. But as soon as we pop ourselves in an environment like this, it's slightly different, because we get to see a little bit more about our boss, or about the people that are helping us move forward. So think about where you're gonna sit or stand when you present. Think about what people see. So right now here, this environment here, I'm in my flat. This is just a corner, very small corner of my flat, but I've tried to make it kind of pleasant. I've got a little
International
light.
audiences, that's an apartment, just so everyone knows.
Sorry, yeah, apartment. Trying to make it a little bit more cozy in a way. I've got my little light here, ring light in front of me. I've got a here this side. I've got my kind of shade there. A couple of books that I have there anyway. And this environment kind of works, but it shows you a little bit of who I am. So showing that is actually a good thing. So going back to the answer of the question again, being aware of how you're showing up, being aware of the messages that you're sharing, and being focus on improving that and absorbing ideas as much as you can, because that engagement with your team now is going to be really almost more important than it's ever been, because now you really do have to get their attention. Now you really do have to make sure that the engagement level is higher, and you can do that by all those different ways. Again, getting the people that you're talking to, again, they're at home most of the time. They're in their home environment. So getting messages through to people that are actually at home and they're positive and they make an impact, that will make them feel better as well, because it's away from the office. It's away from that professional area. It's actually their home, which means a lot to them, you know?
Yep. Yeah. And it's good to show like your personal side of it, because number one, especially as professionals now, is to show a bit of element of trust that like things are not perfect now. But, you know, I have pictures of my family in the background. Like I might be in a bedroom, I might be somewhere else or whatever, but it shows a little bit more of your personality through to it. Also shows a little bit of empathy for the other people. But you also have to say, how are you doing? How's things in the world today for you? Where are you right now? So to build that back to them, so you really sort of appreciate them and understand people in a sort of a more integral point of view. Like I know where you're at. You're in Croatia. I'm in Dublin, Ireland. So that's wonderful, and it's excellent that we can communicate like that now. And especially now the world is such a smaller place. So given that, what else can we do to sort of show who we are and show a little bit of maybe empathy for others and show the real you? Because that's all.
Yeah, absolutely, good question. So there are so many Zoom calls, so many Skype calls, so many calls that are just quite blatantly boring. They're not engaging as they could be. They're not really getting people to sort of share and engage. Often it's usually one person speaking or two people speaking, taking it in turns perhaps, and everybody else listening. So the idea is to sort of think of these experiences as real ways to really interact and exchange. So let's say you've got 50 people on a call or on a meeting or a webinar. You've got 50 people, each with their own little stories, each naturally with their own hardships and struggles and challenges, definitely at this time, because we're all facing those. We've all faced those before, but almost like that today, we've kind of highlighted that because it's something that's nationwide, regional, nationwide, global, right?
Yeah.
So you got lots of people on that call, and they can all actually share something, and we can actually all learn something new from those people that we maybe couldn't learn from before. So going back to the environment that we're in on these calls, there's a great tool that is a wonderful tool that really gives everybody a chance to hear from someone else, and that is the chat. It's the chat tool. So I could say, for example, I can say on a call, let's say there's 50, let's say everybody listening to this right now was actually on this and actually could use the chat. I could say to everybody now, listen, I would love to know, me and Jason would love to know where you are right now, and what the weather's like.
Yeah.
Or another question, just share something right now that has made you smile today.
Yeah.
Okay. Think about that. And then, I'll give you 10 seconds or 5 seconds, countdown, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, pop it in the chat. So a couple of seconds, everybody writes quickly, bang. And then on the chat, just this bang, 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 bang of all these different places, let's say, or perhaps, all the things that have made people smile. And then because everybody then, once you've shared something, once you've shared what made you smile, you're more intrigued and curious to find out what made someone else smile. Again, you can look at that, and that could start a conversation. That could start, it just sort of brings people in into a new dimension. And you can do, though, these are great to start off with at the beginning of the call as people are joining, perhaps, or the very first question you ask everybody, just to sort of set the tone. And as you go through the call, you can do other ones like this that are naturally connected to the topic, connected to the outcome of what you want to share on the call. And it almost gives a signal to everybody, it's okay, it's a good thing to engage, it's a good thing to share, it's a good thing to interact. So it's not just one person sharing something and everybody else listening, it's everybody at certain times during the call sharing their ideas. Another great one I love to do is you can ask somebody, for example, share something right now that shows something you've achieved.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. I like that.
Grab something right now, 30 seconds, or you can give it 15 seconds or whatever. If there's lots of people, maybe a little bit more, because then people just literally get up, they walk around the room or grab something, and then they come back. So something that shows an achievement of yours. And that could be anything. Someone has put up in the past a picture of their family, maybe a certificate, a diploma.
Yeah.
I mean, those are the clear ones, but it could be anything. It could be like
anything that's around the room that you can
anything
pick up.
that for you show. And then someone's put up, I don't know, someone could put up a pen, and like people, and then so tell us about the pen. Why have you put up a pen? And then they share their small little story about that pen, about the achievement.
I think for you and I, it's probably quite easy. For me, I can just grab a book.
I love those books behind there. I think you should actually do at some stage, even just a short video on the books behind you, because I'm sure there are some people that have the same book or would like to know what those books are, or perhaps somebody, some of the great nuggets in those books. So we can do one right now. For example, I could say to you or everybody on this call, if everybody was with us, I'll give you 15 seconds, grab a book that you've read recently, or a real good book that you'd like to share with everyone. Go for it. 15 seconds. And even you can put in a countdown thing as well. So I'm going to grab, I've got one here. Okay, actually I've got two here.
Most of my books are all virtual now, so it's it's slightly different, but I only buy books every now and again now.
Right, what you got?
Yes. I got this book called Yes, and I like it because it really distills and helps kids, teenagers that have internal dialogue, have negative internal dialogue, that want to change it to make positive outlook. To be honest with you, the way I look at it, it's actually written for, I think it's more written for adults.
Right.
It's got some really cool pictures on it, and love it. I really, really like it. It's just very engaging. I've actually liked reading it myself, to be honest with you, but it's for my daughter, but it's really for me.
So I've just picked up two. Why not? I've got one here. So this is there we are, the storytelling book. Just loads of little nuggets and information, and kind of it goes through like a I don't know, all lots of different chapters, each with each individual idea, and it's good to dip in and dip out. I like those kind of books where you can dip in and dip out. You don't have to, it's not like a novel where you read it from A to Z. You can just pop in, pop out when you're at the beach, on holiday, on a train, whatever you're doing, you can pop in, pop out with that one. Also, my other second one is this one here. I bought a few years ago, Shine, and even the word is shining. Shine, How to Survive and Thrive at Work. A great book.
The word shine.
Yeah, I know. I know. So it's a great book full of, oh, can't do that. So it's a simple one to read. Not that I just read simple books, but it's very simple and visual, and lots of ideas on before the pandemic came into force, how that work culture should change, and great ideas in there. So yeah, literally the idea of books is a quite a good one, because it's quite physical. And although a lot of us are reading, not reading books anymore, but maybe reading them online, or even listening to podcasts, so many podcasts today, like now, where we're absorbing information. The physical book thing is actually quite good, and it's quite a nice one to do. And I think it would be a great idea. All of your guests imagine how many episodes have you done now, Jason?
Oh, where am I? I'm on the 7th, 8th, or 9th of this, and 24th on the other podcast. And then I have something else I've done as well. So probably about 50 plus.
50, more than 50 episodes, more than 50 guests, each sharing their own, particular golden ideas of insight. Wouldn't it be great if every one of those, for 10 seconds, held up their book and said, "This is my favorite book and why." And then you've got so many. You've actually got another kind of element of intrigue and advice just through books. So using your environment is, I think, a really good way of people seeing you, certainly as a leader, maybe a side of you that you haven't shared before, but want to share, and gets people to get maybe slightly more closer to you, and see the other side of their boss, let's say.
I think that's a great idea. I'm going to actually steal that one for myself, because I'm always looking for interesting, novel ways to engage with the virtual audiences now, because I just want to make sure, because your tone, your tonality, your body posture, but getting them to actually do something within their surroundings is absolutely awesome. I really like that. So thanks for that. I'm going to steal that. I'm going to use that for myself. But the way I look at these podcasts, it's all about golden nuggets of information, bite-sized chunks that people can actually learn from and use it for themselves and use it for their business, and so on and so forth. Question that I always like to ask is, a film that I saw quite recently had some villains and all of that sort of stuff, but they also had they were fighting the cause because they were flogging these magic pills that give you a superpower for 5 minutes. What would your superpower be, and how would you use that?
Good question, Jason. Good question. So what would be my superpower? So what have I got already? What I would love to have?
Well, it would just give you a superpower, but
it would give me something.
just imagine what sort of superpower you would have. Could be for selfish reasons. It could be just to fly or whatever.
Yeah, no, good question. Good question. I think, and I'm sure maybe a lot of people might be even thinking this along the same lines as me, but a pill that actually helps you feel more confident and feel like there's no barriers at all. There's nothing that can stop you from doing what you want to do. Now, you know what I mean? So I think, so every single one of us. So the business that I'm in is all about, and similar to you, helping people overcome issues that stop them from really doing the job and the impact that they want. So for you, it's I imagine it's that a lot of it is actually getting past in the mindset of helping people to get over or get through those rejections of sales, the mindset of the other person you're talking to. So all those things. For me, it's about helping people to, when people judge you, let them judge you. Let them look at you and decide for themselves what they think, which is okay, but then keep moving forward and and shine, share your messages, share your value. So all those things. So even though we do that as as professionals, both of us, I'm sure, and everybody else on this planet, we at times we don't feel that confident. We don't feel, we doubt ourselves. We think, and certainly for me, in many different areas of my life, I am not as confident as other areas of my life. Like professionally, yes, but still there are times where I don't feel that great, or a rejection has come in from something that I really, really wanted. And it's and often is quite difficult to handle at the beginning. So having a pill that makes us, I mean, probably I'm sure there are certain drugs on this planet that are drugs. If you take them, you do feel great. So I'm not suggesting that. One of those is alcohol. Don't do that. Alcohol, I wouldn't suggest that at all. However, everybody now is just going to go off drinking and drug taking, and they'll blame you guys. Don't blame me. Jason asked the question.
I asked the question, but it's only for 5 minutes, so it'll be gone.
So something that just and I suppose this pill is what I've been trying to take throughout my career. I'm trying to help people, giving advice on how to take that pill throughout my career, because it's really important. It's really important to feel good. And again, in terms of judgment, letting people judge you. It's okay. Everybody has the right to judge us. Somebody once told me that once, and it stuck in my mind, because it's true. We all, I judge just as much as everyone else, and I'm allowed to do that, and they're allowed to do that. And certainly if you're in the public eye, or if you're a celebrity, if you're somebody who's always on television, if you're a politician, definitely everybody has the right to judge you, right? But everybody else, again, we still have the right to judge others. But at the end of the day, if you're sharing value, if you're sharing something you believe in, if you know that what you're doing is good, and actually sometimes if you've messed up, that's a good thing as well. If you've messed up and someone's judged you, and they've judged you harshly, or they've judged you in a negative way, and it's wrong, it wasn't great, then that's okay. Accept that. Accept that, and then move on. So this pill, I would say, a confidence pill that just makes you feel stronger, and letting everyone else judge you the way they want to, because that won't change. We can't change that. We can only change up here.
That's good. It's super empowered resilience, like Superman and the Wonder Woman pose, where all the bullets are firing off, but that's all verbal information bouncing off you, and like you're very strong and powerful inside. Look, Peter, it's been absolutely wonderful having you on the show today. I've learned some stuff which I'm going to borrow, and I really thank you for that. So this is the Global Sales Podcast. I'm your host, Jason Cooper. My very special guest today, Peter Hopwood. How can people find out more about you?
Really simply, I think LinkedIn is the best way. You can link up there, connect, follow. Everything is there pretty much. My website is under construction, but again, on LinkedIn, you can see everything that I'm doing, everything that I've done in the past, and a few things that are coming up. I've got an audio course that's coming up very, very soon as well. A great event with some of your previous guests on this show as well. So you can find out everything there.
Excellent. It's been an incredible conversation today. I really appreciate you reaching out to me, and I'm really looking forward to getting this broadcast out later in the month. So again, Peter, thanks so much for the time.
Thanks for having me.